Yellowfang'S Secret Chapter 1 Shadow Clan Warriors, attack! Yellow Kit burst out of the nursery and hurtled across Shadow Clan camp. Her litter mates Nut Kit and Rowan Kit scurried after her. Nut Kit pounced on a pine cone that lay at the foot of one of the pine trees overhanging the clearing. "It's a Wind Clan warrior," he squealed, batting at it with tiny brown paws. "Get out of our territory." "Rabbit chasers," Rowan Kit flexed her claws, growling. "Prey stealers." Yellow Kit leaped at a stray tendril from the brambles then circling the camp. Her paws got tangled in it and she lost her balance, rolling over in a flurry of legs and tail. Scrambling to her feet, she crouched in front of the bramble, her teeth bared in a growl. "Trip me up, would you?" she squeaked, raking her claws across its leaves. "Take that!" Nut Kit began to scan the clearing, peering around with narrowed amber eyes. "Can you see any more Wind Clan warriors on our territory?" he asked. Yellow Kit spotted a group of elders sharing tongues in a shaft of sunlight. "Yes, over there," she yelled. Nut Kit and Rowan Kit followed her as she raced across the hard brown earth and skidded to a halt in front of the elders. "Wind Clan warriors," Yellow Kit began, trying to sound as dignified as her clan leader, Cedar Star. "Do you agree that Shadow Clan is the best of all the clans, or do you need to feel our claws in your fur to persuade you?" Little Bird, her ginger pelt glowing in the warm light, sat up, giving the other elders an amused glance. "No, you're far too fierce for us," she meowed. "We don't want to fight." "Do you promise to let our warriors cross your territory whenever they want?" Rowan Kit growled. "We promise." Silver Flame, the mother of Yellow Kit's mother, Bright Flower, flattened herself to the ground and blinked fearfully up at the kits. Lizard Fang cringed away from the three kits, shuffling his skinny brown limbs. "Shadow Clan is much stronger than us." "Yes." Yellow Kit bounced up in the air. "Shadow Clan is the best." In her excitement, she leaped on top of Nut Kit, rolling over and over with him in a knot of gray and brown fur. "I'm going to be the best warrior in the best clan in the forest," she thought with glee. She broke away from Nut Kit and scrambled to her paws. "You be a Wind Clan warrior now," she urged. "I know some awesome battle moves." "Battle moves?" A scornful voice broke in. You're only a kit." Yellow Kit spun around to see Ragged Kit and his litter mate Scorch Kit standing a couple of tail lengths away. "And what are you?" she demanded, facing up to the big dark tabby Tom. "You and Scorch Kit were still kits last time I looked." "But we'll be apprentices soon," Ragged Kit retorted. "It'll be moons and moons before you start training." "Yeah," Scorch Kit licked one ginger paw and drew it over his ears. "We'll be warriors by then." "In your dreams." Rowan Kit bounded up to stand next to Yellow Kit, while Nut Kit flanked her on her other side. "There are rabbits who'd make better warriors than you two." Scorch Kit crouched down, his muscles tense to leap at them, but Ragged Kit blocked him with his tail. "They're not worth it," he mewed loftily. "Come on, Runts, watch us and we'll show you some real battle moves." "You're not our mentors," Nut Kit snapped. "All you know how to do is mess up our game." "Your game?" Ragged Kit rolled his eyes. "Like you wouldn't go squealing to the nursery if Wind Clan really attacked our camp." "Would not," Rowan Kit exclaimed. Ragged Kit and Scorch Kit ignored her, turning their backs on the younger kits. "You attack me first," Scorch Kit ordered. Ragged Kit dashed past his litter mate, aiming a blow at Scorch Kit's ear. Scorch Kit swung away and pounced on Ragged Kit's tail. Ragged Kit rolled over onto his back, all four paws ready to defend himself. Annoyed as she was, Yellow Kit couldn't help admiring the older Toms. Her paws itched to practice their battle moves, but she knew that she and her litter mates would only get sneered as if they tried. "Come on," Nut Kit nudged her. "Let's go and see if there are any mice in the brambles." "You won't catch any, even if there are," Ragged Kit meowed, rising to his paws and shaking debris from his fur. "I wasn't talking to you." Nut Kit's fur bristled, and he bared his tiny needle-sharp teeth. "Kitty pet." For a moment, all 5 kittens froze. Yellow Kit could feel her heart pounding. Like her litter mate, she had heard the elders gossiping, wonder who had fathered Ragged Kit and Scorch Kit, asking one another if it could be true that Featherthorn's mate had been a kitty pet. The younger she-cat had often strayed in two-legged place, and she had never been obviously close to any of the Toms in the clan. Yellow Kit knew that it was something you should never, never say out loud. Ragged Kit took a pace closer to Nut Kit, stiff-legged with fury. "What did you call me?" he snarled, his voice dangerously quiet. Nut Kit's eyes were wide and scared, but he didn't back down. "Kitty pet," he repeated. A low growl came from Ragged Kit's throat. Scorch Kit's gaze darkened and he flexed his claws, neither of them looking so one bit like a soft, fluffy kitty pet. Yellow Kit braced herself to defend her litter mate. "Nut Kit." Yellow Kit turned at the sound of her mother's voice. Bright Flower was standing beside the thorn bush that shielded the nursery hollow. Her orange tabby tail was twitching in annoyance. "Nut Kit, if you can't play sensibly, then you'd better come back here. You too, Yellow Kit and Rowan Kit. I won't have you fighting." "Not fair," Nut Kit muttered, as all 3 litter mates began trailing toward the nursery. He cuffed his paws through the pine needles on the ground. "They started it." "They're just stupid kitty pets," Rowan Kit whispered. Yellow Kit couldn't resist glancing over her shoulder as she reached the thorn bush. Ragged Kit and Scorch Kit stood in the middle of the clearing, glaring after them. The force of Ragged Kit's anger scared her and fascinated her at the same time. Behind it she could sense something else, a black space that echoed with fearful questioning. She thought of her own father, Brackenfoot, who told stories of patrols and huntings and gatherings of four-trees, who let his kits scramble all over him and pretended to be a fox so they could attack him. Yellow Kit loved him and wanted to be like him. What must it be like not to know who your father is, especially if every cat thinks he was a kitty pet? Then Yellow Kit realized that Ragged Kit's gaze had locked with hers. With a squeak of alarm, she ducked underneath the branches and tumbled down into the nursery after her littermates. Chapter 2. I'm bored, Nutkit complained. Let's go and play in the warrior's den. Yellow Kit blinked at him. Are you mouse-brained? The warriors will rip our pelts off. 3 sunrises had passed since the quarrel with Ragged Kit and Scorched Kit. Yellow Kit still felt uneasy around them and tried to avoid them around the camp. You're a scaredy mouse, Nutkit taunted her. Go on, peek out of the bush. I dare you. Can't back down now, Yellow Kit thought, bracing herself as she gazed across the clearing to the thick bramble bush where the warriors slept. Like all of the Shadow Clan dens, theirs was a shallow dip in the ground, sheltered by tightly woven thorns and enclosed by the circle of brambles. The den surrounded a clearing beneath pine trees, with the entrance to the camp at one end and a large lichen-covered rock, known as the Clan Rock, at the other. Rowan Kit nudged Yellow Kit. Don't do it. Bright Flower's got her eye on us. Look over there. She angled her ears to where Bright Flower and Brackenfoot were sharing the bowl beside the fresh kill pile. In between mouthfuls, Bright Flower was turning her head to check up on her kits. A wave of affection for her mother washed over Yellow Kit. I'm glad I look like her, she thought. She had seen her own reflection in a puddle once and almost thought she was gazing at a tiny copy of Bright Flower. That her pelt was gray, not orange tabby like her mother. She had the same broad, flat face, snub nose, and wide-set amber eyes. I want to be just like her, and just like my father, Yellow Kit thought. A warrior and a queen. I'll have lots of kits, and I'll bring them up to be great warriors for our clan. I know a game, she announced. You be my kits, and I'll teach you how to catch frogs. Okay, Rowan Kit sat in front of Yellow Kit and wrapped her tail neatly around her paws. Nutkit rolled his eyes, but said nothing as he came to sit beside Rowan Kit. Yellow Kit let out a hiss. I never saw such untidy kit, she scolded. Nutkit, have you been rolling around in the brambles? And Rowan Kit, just look at your chest fur. Give it a good lick right now. Rowan Kit let out a tiny merow of amusement as she started to lick her chest fur. Nutkit wriggled as Yellow Kit used her paws to pick imaginary thorns out of his pelt. This is a dumb game, he muttered, and your pelt's not so great either. Yellow Kit gave him a light swat around the ear. Don't you dare speak to your mother like that. She stood back, checking her littermates very carefully, then nodded. Much better. Now, kits, listen up. We're going to learn how to catch a frog. Now, Kit, pay attention. She flicked her tail over her brother's ears as he watched the jerky flight of a white butterfly. The most important thing to remember about frogs is that they jump. Can I be the frog? Can I? Rowan Kit asked, bouncing up and down in excitement. I can jump really high. Yellow Kit let out a sigh of exasperation. No, you've got to listen. Bright Flower was padding across the clearing toward them. Her eyes were warm and amused. That looks like a good game, she meowed. Yellow Kit, you'll make a great queen one day. And a warrior, Yellow Kit insisted. Of course, Bright Flower purred, if that's what you want. It is. I'll be the best. Yellow Kit broke off as she spotted Cedar Star emerging from his den beneath the oak tree. The clan leader bounded across the clearing and leaped onto the clan rock. Let all cats old enough to catch their own prey join here beneath the clan rock for a meeting, he yowled. Yellow Kit turned to her mother. What's happening? Wait and see, Bright Flower replied. Come sit with me and your father. Sweeping her tail around all 3 kits, Bright Flower led them across the clearing to where Brackenfoot sat beside the fresh kill pile. Meanwhile, more of the clan cats were gathering. Sage Whisker, the medicine cat, slid out from her den in the shadow of the clan rock and sat down facing her leader. Pool Cloud, her belly heavy with kits, hauled herself out of the nursery and padded slowly over to the entrance of the warrior's den where her mate, Toadskip, had just appeared. Toadskip's apprentice, Ashpaw, bounded up to join them. The other 2 apprentices, Frogpaw and Newtpaw, broke off their play fight, shook their pelts, and sat down to listen. Crowtail, Archeye, and Hollyflower pushed their way out of the warrior's den. Finally, Ragged Kit and Scorched Kit appeared from the nursery, followed by their mother, Featherstorm. Their fur was gleaming, and they paced proudly across the camp to stand at the front of the crowd of cats. Yellow Kit suddenly realized what was going on. They're being made apprentices. Shh, Bright Flower responded. Nutkit, stop scratching your ear. Wish it was our turn, Nutkit whispered to Yellow Kit. We've got to wait forever. Yellow Kit nodded. 4 whole moons. Ragged Kit and Scorched Kit looked so grown up, she thought. I can't believe I'll ever be an apprentice. Cedar Star looked down at the 2 older kits. Cats of Shadow Clan, are you gay? He began. Today we are gathered for... Yellow Kit squirmed, trying to get comfortable. Her hind paw was tickling as if she'd stepped on a thorn. She twisted around, lifted her pad, in an attempt to see it. Cedar Star broke off, looking down at her. Yellow Kit, Bright Flower, stop wriggling. I've got a thorn in my paw, Yellow Kit wailed. Keep still then. Let me look. Bright Flower peered at Yellow Kit's paw, and then gave it a brief sniff. There's nothing there, she snapped. Stop fussing and listen to Cedar Star. Yellow Kit realized that all of her clanmates were staring at her. She wished that she could sink to the earth floor of the camp and disappear. Sorry, she muttered, hanging her head. Her paw was still painful, but she gritted her teeth and tried to ignore it. Cats of Shadow Clan, Cedar Star began again. We are here for one of the most important ceremonies in the life of any clan, the making of new apprentices. Ragged Kit and Scorched Kit have reached their 6th moon, and it is time for them to begin their training. A murmur of appreciation came from the surrounding cats, though Yellow Kit heard a quiet comment from Toadskip, who was sitting nearby. Training half kitty pets, he murmured into Arch-Eye's ear. We'll be making hedgehogs under apprentices next. Yellowkit started to bristle, but Ragged Kit and Scorch Kit had never heard their clanmate's unkind words. The two kits stood with their heads and tails erect and their whiskers quivering. Yellowkit thought they looked as if they would burst with pride. Ragged Kit, come forward, Cedar Star beckoned to the dark tabby Tom with his tail. Brackenfoot, he went on, you are ready for another apprentice, and you'll be mentor to Ragged Paw. I trust you will pass on to him your warrior skills and your loyalty to your clan. My father is going to be Ragged Paw's mentor? A tingle of jealousy shot through Yellowkit. Now Brackenfoot will spend more time with Ragged Paw than he does with us. Brackenfoot dipped his head. You can trust me, Cedar Star, he meowed. Ragged Paw trotted toward him, and Foot stepped forward and touched noses with his new apprentice. As they withdrew into the circle of watching cats, Cedar Star called Scorch Kit forward. Crowtail, Scorch Paw will be your first apprentice, clan leader mouthed. You have proven yourself as a warrior, and I know you will pass on all that you have learned to him. Her eyes shining, the small black she-cat padded up to the clan rock and gazed up at her leader. I'll do my best, Cedar Star, she responded. Scorch Paw bounded over to her, and the two cats touched noses. Ragged Paw, Scorch Paw. Every cat in the clan yelled the new names and pressed forward to congratulate the two new apprentices, but Yellowkit and her littermates hung back. They're not so great, Nutkit muttered. Wait till we're apprentices. We'll show them. Now that the meeting was over, Yellowkit flopped down on one side and brought her hind leg forward so that she could take a good look at her paw. Pain was still throbbing through it, but however much she probed between her pads, she couldn't find the thorn. Sitting up, she saw that Brackenfoot and Crowtail were leading their new apprentices through the gap in the brambles that circled the camp. They're going to see the territory, Yellowkit thought enviously. I wish I could go with them. But right now she could hardly put her hind paw to the ground. Maybe I should go see Sage Whisker. But as Yellowkit made her way toward the medicine cat's den, hopping awkwardly on three legs, she saw a patrol emerging from the tunnel into the camp. Mudclaw was in the lead with Mousewing. Both were carrying mice. Nettlespot followed, dragging along a squirrel nearly as big as she was. Dearleaf, one of the most senior warriors, caught a blackbird. Last of all came the young pale brown warrior Lizardstripe, limping as if her hind paw was hurting her too. Better see Sage Whisker about that thorn, Mudclaw mumbled around his mouth full prim. Your paw might get infected if it's not seen too. On my way, Lizardstripe sounded irritated. This is the last time I go chasing mice under a thorn bush. She limped past Yellowkit and vanished between the rocks in the medicine cat's den. Yellowkit waited patiently until Lizardstripe emerged again, this time walking almost normally. Thanks, Sage Whisker, the warrior called over her shoulder. Sage Whisker poked her head out of her den. Give it a good lick, she instructed, and see me again tomorrow so I can make sure it hasn't gotten infected. Yellowkit stumbled forward, ready to tell Sage Whisker about the thorn in her own bib. When she put her hind paw on the ground, she realized the pain had gone. The thorn must have fallen out. She looked around her, trying to see it on the grass, but there was nothing that looked sharp enough. Oh well, as long as it doesn't hurt anymore. She pressed her paw harder on the ground, making sure it was truly better. Hey, Yellowkit, Roankit's voice interrupted her. Yellowkit looked up to see both her littermates standing beside a broken tree stump not far from the elder stem. New branches had started to sprout from the remaining of the trunk, making a shady cave. Come over here, Nutkit squealed. We found a fox and her cubs. We've got to drive them out of our camp. Her heart beat. Yellowkit believed him, and her neck fur bristled. Then she realized this was just another game. Oh yes, the elders will make really scary foxes. Silverflame was peering out of the elder's den as Yellowkit bounded over to join her littermates. Her fur stood on end and her teeth were bared. This is our den, Silverflame hissed. Stay away or I'll strip your fur off and feed you to my cubs. Go on, attack them. Littlebird peered over Silverflame's shoulder. With her ginger pouch looked like a little fox cub. I just fancy a nice fat kit. No, Yellowkit yelled. This is Shadow Clan camp. No foxes allowed. She hurled herself at Silverflame, trying to grab a hold of the old she-cat's fur. Silverflame batted at her with soft paws, her claws sheathed. Roankit and Nutkit raced past them into the den. Out! Out! Nutkit squeaked. Yellowkit and Silverflame rolled into the open. Yellowkit ended up on top, clinging to Silverflame's belly fur. Do you give in? She demanded. No more eating cats? No more, I promise, Silverflame responded. Then she let out a gusty sigh. Go on, my old bones won't stand much more of this. As Yellowkit bounced off her, Silverflame sat up and shook her gray and orange pelt, panting a little as she caught her breath. She blinked affectionately at Yellowkit and purr rose in her throat. Well fought, little one, she mewed. I can see you're going to be one of the best warriors in Shadow Clan. You're right about that, thought Yellowkit, her chest swelling with pride. Watch out, foxes. Chapter 3. Yellowkit found it hard to get sleep that night. She'd often complained about the nursery seeming too crowded, but now that Ragged Paw and Scorch Paw had left for the apprentice's den, it felt oddly empty. Feather Storm had returned to the warrior's den, so the only cats in the nursery beside Yellowkit and her littermates were Brightflower and Poolcloud, whose kids were close to being born. I'll never get to sleep if Poolcloud keeps snoring, Yellowkit thought crossly, wriggling around on the moss and pine needles that lined the floor of the nursery. Keep still, Brightflower mewed drowsily. How's a cat supposed to get any rest? With a snort of annoyance, Yellowkit curled up and wrapped her tail over her nose. Peering over the top of it, she could just make out Roankit tucked close to their mother's side, and Nutkit sprawled on the moss, his legs and tail twitching as if he was dreaming about racing through the forest. I wish Starkman would send me a good dream, Yellowkit thought. She slept at last, only to wake again with a start. A faint dawn light was filtering through the brambles. Poolcloud was still snoring softly. Brightflower and Roankit were curled up together. Nutkit was squirming about in the bedding, letting out soft moans of pain. Yellowkit realized what had woken her. Her belly felt heavy, and every couple of heartbeats pain shot through it. I guess Nutkit's belly is hurting too. She prodded her brother gently with one paw. Do you have cramps in your belly? She whispered. Nutkit's eyes blinked open and he peered blearily at his sister. How do you know? My belly's aching too, Yellowkit retorted, wincing as another deep cramp coursed through her. She pressed her belly hard against the moss as if she could squash the pain out of it. We've got to tell Bright Flower, she grunted. She'll get Sage Whisker. No, Nutkit's eyes stretched wide with alarm. Yellowkit, don't, please. Why not? Yellowkit asked. She turned her eyes at her brother. What have you been up to? Before Nutkit could reply, Bright Flower raised her head, twitching her whiskers in annoyance. Will you Kit settle down? She began. This isn't time for playing, you. She broke off and her gaze grew more intense, swiveling from Nutkit to Yellowkit and back again. What's the matter? Our bellies are hurting, Yellowkit replied, her words ending with a low wail as though another wave of pain surged over her. Please get Sage Whisker. Before she had finished speaking, Bright Flower rose into her paws, careful not to disturb that sleeping rowan kit, and patted across the moss, gave each of her kits a careful sniff. Have you been eating something you shouldn't? She asked. Tell me quickly now. Sage Whisker will need to know. No, another gasp of pain interrupted Nutkit. All right, he went on when he could speak again. I found a dead sparrow among the brambles yesterday. I only tasted it to see what it was like. Nutkit, Bright Flower let out a sigh of exasperation. You know what I've told you about eating crow food. You too, Yellowkit. How could you be so stupid? But I didn't, Yellowkit protested. Her mother gazed at her sternly. Eating crow food is bad. Lying about it is even worse, she yawned. Hot indignation surged through Yellowkit, almost driving out the pain in her belly. I'm not lying, she insisted. I never even saw the stupid sparrow. Tell her, Nutkit. I didn't see Yellowkit there, but Nutkit's words ended in a groan. And how do you suppose you got a bellyache if you didn't eat it? Bright Flower twitched her tail tip angrily. I'm very disappointed in both of you, especially you, Yellowkit. Now come outside so you don't disturb Rowan Kit and Pool Cloud. I'll go get Sage Whisker. Yellowkit didn't argue any more as she scrambled out of the moss and pine needles. Still simmering with indignation, she climbed up the side of a hollow and wriggled under the branches of the thorn bush. The sky above the pine tree was pale with the approach of dawn. Just inside the entrance to the camp, Mousewing was guarding, while his black pelt barely visible against the branches. He yawned and stretched, not noticing Bright Flower. She bounded across the clearing to the medicine cat's den. Wincing from the pain in her belly, Yellowkit flopped down beside her brother and waited for her mother to re-emerge from the den with Sage Whisker. You'd better tell Bright Flower the truth about eating that sparrow, Nutkit murmured. You're only making it worse for yourself. For the last time, I did not eat any dodgy sparrow, Yellowkit snapped. I've got more sense. Nutkit gave her a disbelieving look, but said nothing more. A moment later, Sage Whisker emerged from her den and trotted across the nursery, followed closely by Bright Flower. Kit, the medicine cat exclaimed, dropping a bundle of leaves as she held in front of Yellowkit and Nutkit. It's not one thing, it's another. Have you no sense? What are you going to give us? Yellowkit whimpered, sniffing at the leaves as another spasm cramped her belly. You're going to make us sick to get the bad stuff out of us? Sage Whisker gazed at her intently. That's exactly what I'm going to do, the medicine cat meowed, and this is the herb we need for it, yarrow. Bending her head, she gave Nutkit and then Yellowkit a long sniff. Bright Flower tells me you've been eating crow food, she continued. Nutkit let out a moan of pain. It was only a mouthful. 2, maybe. Sage Whisker sighed. Or 3 or 4. Now you know why we teach kits not to do that. Will they be okay? Bright Flower fretted, giving Nutkit's ears a comforting lick. They'll be fine, Sage Whisker assured her. Right, Kits? I want you to eat this arrow. It'll make you sick, and then your belly will feel a whole lot better. Nutkit gave the herbs a suspicious glare. Are they yucky? The medicine cat nodded. They're pretty yucky, she admitted. But would you rather have the yucky taste or the bellyache? I'll eat them, I guess, Nutkit responded. Not here, please, Bright Flower mewed. We don't want a mess right outside the nursery. In spite of Nutkit's feeble protest, she picked him up by the scruff and carried him toward the edge of the camp. Sage Whisker padded alongside, carrying the arrow, while Yellowkit followed, staggering a little as pain roiled through her insides. By now, the dawn light had strengthened. Several warriors had emerged from their den, and Stonetooth, the clan deputy, was organizing the dawn patrols. Yellowkit felt a pang of envy. She spotted Ragged Paw and Scorchpaw with their mentor. She quickened her pace, stumbling a little, hoping the apprentices wouldn't spot her and ask what was happening. In the shelter of the thorns at the edge of the clearing, Sage Whisker led a few yarrow leaves in front of Nutkit, the rest of the bundle in front of Yellowkit. While Nutkit was still hesitating, Yellowkit laughed at the leaves, wincing as the bitter juices filled her mouth. Yuck, she gasped, gagging as she tried to swallow. After a few heartbeats, she managed to force the vile stuff down. Almost at once, she felt her belly give an enormous heave, and she vomited up several mouthfuls of slime. She passed her tongue over her lips, trying to get rid of the taste. That's good, Sage Whisker murmured approvingly, as Nutkit too brought up the contents of his belly. Bright Flower take them back to the nursery. They should sleep now. When they wake, they can have some milk, but no food today. I'll check on them later. Thank you, Sage Whisker. Bright Flower dipped her head to the medicine cat. And let that be a lesson for you, she added to her kits. No more crow food. But I didn't eat crow food. Yellowkit's indignation surged up again now that her belly didn't hurt anymore. It's not fair. Why won't any cat believe me? Bright Flower let out a hiss. No more, she mewed. I won't punish you for lying this time because you've suffered enough, but don't let it happen again. Without waiting for Yellowkit to respond, she grabbed Nutkit by the scruff and headed for the nursery. Yellowkit padded after them, her head down, her tail drooping. Her belly was sore from vomiting, and she could still taste the bitter yarrow, but what made her really miserable was the fact that her mother believed she was a liar. Yellowkit pushed away into the open, yawning and arching her back in a long stretch. She was bored. Behind her in the nursery, Nutkit was still asleep, half buried in the moss, as if he was exhausted from his disturbed night and his upset belly. But I feel fine, Yellowkit thought, except my belly's growling. Briarflower just reminded her that Sage Whisker had said she and Nutkit couldn't have anything to eat till tomorrow. I'll never last that long, Yellowkit wailed inwardly. I'll be as weak as a mouse. Blinking, she gazed around the camp. Hollyflower and Crowtail were sharing tongues outside the warrior's den, while the elders were gossiping in a patch of warm sun beside the tree stump. Yellowkit caught a scrap of their conversation. Sent that Windclan warrior squealing all the way back to his camp. Lizardfang meowed. We didn't put up with any nonsense from Windclan on my day, let me tell you. No, and not from ThunderClan either, Silverflame purred. Yellowkit's heart swelled with love for the old she-cat. Maybe if I go over there she'll tell me a story. Then she shook her head. No, more likely I have to listen to Lizardfang yanking on about all the Windclan warriors it chased off. In the middle of the clearing, Ruinkit was playing by herself, tossing a ball of moss in the air and catching it on her tiny extended claws. Yellowkit didn't feel like joining in. I wish I'd go out and explore the territory like Dragonpaw and Scorchpaw. Flinging her tail and trying not to look as if she was going anywhere special, Yellowkit paddled across the camp toward the fresh kill pile. The sun was shining, and the patches of sky visible through the trees were clear blue, but there was a chill in the air, and the leaves on the huge oak tree where Cedar Star made his den was beginning to turn yellow. Greenleaf was coming to an end. Yellowkit felt hungrier than ever when she approached the fresh kill pile, and the enticing sense of voles and squirrels flooded her jaws. She absolutely had to have something to eat if she was going to sneak out of the camp. One little mouse called her, "Hey, Yellowkit!" Yellowkit jumped guiltily. Turning to see who was calling her, she spotted Sage Whisker stunning herself at the entrance of the den. Uh-oh. Nothing until tomorrow, the Medicine Cat warned her. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised you can even think about eating yet. I'm starving. Sage Whiskers stifled a purr of amusement. Would you rather have a bellyache, little kit? Yellowkit scuffled her forepaws and answered the camp floor. I guess not. Why don't you come and help me with a few things, the Medicine Cat suggested. All the apprentices are out, and I need someone to give me a paw sorting my herbs. It might take your mind off your empty belly. Okay, Yellowkit perked up. She liked the sharp sense of herbs in the Medicine Cat's den, and she needed something to stop herself from thinking about food. She followed Sage Whisker back into the den. Beyond the narrow entrance that lay between two boulders, a tiny clearing opened out, edged by thick clumps of fern. At the far side, a pool of clear water reflected the pine trees above. The herbs are over here, Sage Whisker passed to one side of the clearing. I dig holes in the ground to keep them fresh, and covered them up with fern fronds. She picked up one of the fronds and laid it aside. Yellowkit peered in the hole beneath a few withered leaves lay at the bottom. That's marigold, Sage Whisker meowed. It's good for infected wounds, but as you can see, those scraps aren't much good. Lift them out and pile them up by the entrance. Later on, I'll carry all the rubbish out of the camp. While Yellowkit obeyed, Sage Whisker uncovered the next hole. It held only 2 or 3 shriveled berries. Are these the pile? Yellowkit asked, dipping her paw into the hole, ready to scoop out the berries. Sage Whisker shook her head, flicking her tail across to block Yellowkit's paws. No, those are juniper berries. I know they're all past their best, but they're so useful for bellyache and shortness of breath. I won't dare throw them away until the fresh ones are ready. It won't be long, thanks, Starclam. Yellowkit nodded, giving the berries an interested sniff. Silverflame wheezes sometimes, she remarked. Do you give her juniper berries? I do, Sage Whisker dipped her hand. You're learning fast, Yellowkit. Yellowkit felt proud of herself. This is so useful. I'll know about herbs and everything when I'm a warrior. What's in the next hole, she asked. These are daisy leaves, Sage Whisker replied, uncovering a pile of fresh leaves. Good for Lizardfang's aching joints. I only collected them yesterday, so we don't have to throw them out. Yellowkit followed her along the row of holes while Sage Whisker told her about each different herb and what they were used for, sorting out the withered ones so that Yellowkit could pile them up at the entrance. There, finished, Sage Whisker mewed at last, dusting off her paws. Well done, Yellowkit. You've been a big help. It was fun, Yellowkit replied, realizing at the start that it was true. I had no idea how much you learned to be a medicine cat. And your belly feels fine now? Yellowkit nodded. Still empty though, she mewed. Sage Whisker touched Yellowkit's ear with her nose. Then you'll remember to stay away from crowfoot in the future. Yellowkit heaved a deep sigh. Yes, okay, she muttered. There wasn't any point in arguing. She knew that no cow was going to believe her, but if it wasn't the crow food, she asked herself as she paddled back in the nursery, what did make my belly ache like Nutkit's?